that of our 45 presidents, 5 have been elected despite not being the popular vote? My purpose today is to persuade you to support abolishing the Electoral College. I've never truly thought about the Electoral College. However, after our last election, I was personally concerned with the outcome and had to know more about the causes behind it. After some extensive research, I found an astonishing amount of facts and points that point to abolishing the Electoral College. Like myself, many of you vote when it's time and don't truly know what happens with that vote. What if I told you sometimes that vote doesn't even matter? Today I'll arm you with facts and statistics that will not only encourage you, but persuade you to support abolishing the Electoral College. I'll begin by discussing the problem with the Electoral College, then move on to some of its causes, and conclude with the solution. With our roadmap in place, let's discuss some of the problems behind the Electoral College. The problem is many people do not support abolishing the Electoral College. For example, many lawmakers are urging citizens to not support abolishing the Electoral College, but rather change it. According to an article by the New York Times written by Jose Del Rio, correspondent of Los Angeles, and Julie Turkowitz, bureau chief in New York, 15 of the 50 states support abolishing it. However, the majority of the states just want to update the system. States like Pennsylvania and Virginia have offered up bills that will change the way they give the election votes to candidates, but according to officials, abolishing it is just out of the question. Another example comes from Jeremy M. Jones, the senior editor for the Gallup, who states that as of 2019, 43% of Americans polled still believe that the Electoral College system should remain the same. According to the Jeremy Jones article, while we see an increase in the support for abolishing the Electoral College, Americans remain steadfast in the Electoral College remaining the same. According to this graph, you can see that 43% of Americans that do not support abolishing the Electoral College, whereas the 55% that do support it. With the problem in mind, let's discuss some of its causes. There are 2 main reasons why abolishing the Electoral College is not supported. The first comes from the belief that it should not be abolished, just improved. As said before in the article from the New York Times, it discusses many states wanting to update how they give candidates their election votes, but very few states are for abolishing it. However, by changing and not abolishing the Electoral College, we're still left with an unfit system that cannot make unbiased election decisions. In an article by the New York Times, again by correspondent Jose Del Rio, because many states are normally only Republican or Democrat, by changing the Electoral College, these states will most likely remain on their sides. In other words, while changing the Electoral College, we could update the system, these heavy-sided states will still remain biased and on a path to their political parties. The second belief comes from that abolishing the Electoral College will only give more power back to the federal government. This fear comes from the confusion of what will happen when the Electoral College is abolished. Again, from an NPR article by Miles Parks, the question becomes, who will control the voting? Will the government be able to handle recounts? Will the government take over voting completely from the states? However, while it would give this slight power back to the government, we, the people, would have a greater say in who we truly feel should be elected. By ridding the country of the Electoral College, the popular vote becomes the decider of the president. In a briefing from Brookings Institution, writer and director of government studies Darrell West states, by abolishing the Electoral College, we allow the federal government to take back some power in voting. In other words, not all aspects of voting can be left up to the states and the people. In the end, by doing this, we would allow a slight power. However, the end goal of ensuring the president be the president of the people comes to light, and we will be able to give third parties and individuals who never had a chance get a second look from those people that support abolishing the Electoral College. Now that we've discussed why abolishing the Electoral College is not supported, let's move on to the solution. The solution, which is abolishing the Electoral College, offers up two main benefits. The first benefit would be the president will truly be the president of the people. Also from Darrell West's briefing, this states that for years, a majority, the population has supported abolishing the Electoral College. By doing this, the popular vote would fully determine the outcome of the election. In other words, whomever the people vote to be the president, the people get. This means the president will truly be the president of the people. And we would have the sole responsibility of electing that president. The second benefit is the system would be more up to date with today's information and technology. According to a Yale Law School paper discussing the Federalist Papers, the Founding Fathers created the Electoral College in fear that the uneducated and uninformed population would not arm themselves with the information they needed, or that they would buy into election schemes. However, today, we as a nation are more informed, educated, and understanding of what it takes to be a great president. And we can see right through these election schemes. Therefore, the education of America and the Electoral College system should change as we do. As Americans, we should feel our vote matters and is heard. By abolishing the Electoral College, we ensure this happen. No one will ever be able to get rid of the votes of the people again. Our country will still have many challenges and will still have many things to overcome, but by abolishing the Electoral College, we're one step closer to a bigger and better America. Let's review what we've learned today. First, we learned that the problem is many people do not support abolishing the Electoral College, as seen by lawmakers urging citizens to not abolish the Electoral College but improve it, and the percentage of the population that doesn't support abolishing the Electoral College still. Next, we learned two reasons why people do not support abolishing the Electoral College, including the belief that it should not be abolished but improved, and the fear of the federal government receiving more power if it is abolished. Finally, we learned that abolishing the Electoral College offers two main benefits, including that the president elected would be the president of the people, and that the system would be more up to date with today's technology and information. We as a country are ever changing and growing. New technology and information is at our fingertips every day. With that comes a need for reform in many areas of our nation. Many of these reforms come from who holds the power, and by abolishing the Electoral College, we ensure that that power holder is who the people truly feel best fit. By arming yourself with the information discussed today, I hope that you'll continue to inform yourself with the negatives of the Electoral College, and in the end become a supporter of abolishing it.